The Vancouver Island Raiders, coming off a victory up in Kamloops, head into a much different test as they'll be home to the Okanagan Sun this weekend. And Doug Hocking, their head coach, joins me now. Doug, the victory didn't go to script, I guess, in Kamloops per se. I mean, you guys started your backup quarterback, but ended up your starter was in there by the time that game was finished. But ultimately, you got what you needed to do done up in Kamloops.
Yeah, it was. We were hoping Cole could play the whole game, and we wouldn't have to put Jake in. But it's at halftime there, I decided to make a move and put Jake in. We were up 5-0. I thought there was some chances to put more points on the board in the first half, and we weren't executing. And so putting Jake in the game was that was my decision, and we were quite happy with his performance. He came off the bench. He was engaged and he was into it right from the beginning, and I knew he was ready to play. And he took that opening drive of the third quarter right down the field, and we scored points. And it just shows the kid's leadership skills and his attitude. Ran through that whole team, and we became a different team in the second half.
There's like a bit of a sentiment out there that Jake LeBerge is the Raiders MVP this season. Is that something? I mean, I know you don't really look at your players that way, probably, but is that something that rings true for you?
Well, he's had quite a year, right? And he's still going, and he's battling, and I think a lot of people thought he'd be out for an extended period of time after what happened in Kelowna there, and he worked his butt off to rehab that leg and get back in and ready to play up in Kamloops. And then you could see his performance in Kamloops in the second half, and I think beyond his numbers and how he's throwing the ball and he's executing, I think the way he's led this football team by the way he practices and by the way he prepares, I could say he's an MVP, but of this football team. But do we have an MVP? I mean, Rhett Williams has had an outstanding year. I mean, Mike West is another one who's had an outstanding year. There's a few guys that have MVP performances so far this season that you could throw it up to and toss a three-sided coin, and any one of those three guys could come up MVP. So I think the best part of it is all three of those guys and the rest of this football team are only focused on winning football games, and it really doesn't matter who gets touches or who throws passes, or at the end of the day, let's just win football games and get to where we need to be.
I think that I know the answer that you'll probably give me is, hey, we're focused on every day, every rep, and I know that's true.
It's every week.
I know that's true, Doug. I know it is, but come on, let's be real here. The standings are crazy. You guys are in first place right now. By the end of the weekend, you could be, in a three-way tie for second place. I mean, you guys are in a real crazy spot coming down the stretch here. How do you approach that with your guys? And is it just back to the cliche of that one rep thing?
Well, we can't. Yeah, we have we only control what we control, right? Like, we can't control the outcome of other football games. We can only control the outcome of this game Saturday afternoon, right? So, like I told the guys last night, there's no sense in looking at the standings, and I know they all do it. I do it. So fair enough, but I'm not calling plays. I'm not telling them, third down to go for it in, West Shore Chilliwack or Surrey or Langley and Kamloops. I don't make those calls, right? So let's just focus on our job and what we're going to do and getting prepared for Saturday afternoon. And in doing that, we just got to take care of Saturday, come out on top and execute at a high level, and then let everything else will take care of itself, right? So it's one game at a time. We can't worry about next week. Let's take care of Saturday. Let's take care of Wednesday night. So, Dom, you knew it. Like, it's almost like you're psychic, right? By this point, you know exactly the answer I'm going to give you, right? It's Wednesday night. Let's take care of Wednesday night.
I mean, I try so hard to break you coaches out of the coach speak, right? But it's just like ingrained in your life now, I think, right?
Well, anything else, I'd be lying to you, honestly, right? Like, if I'm saying, hey, man, like, this has got to happen and we want this to happen. Hey, I can sit back at night and I can daydream all these scenarios and I hope this happens. I hope this is the first round. Ultimately, nothing will happen. Like, it doesn't happen if we don't win games, right? And the last thing we want to do is focus on something we don't control. So right now we control Wednesday night. Let's do it.
At least you admitted that you look at the BCFC website. I like that because that means you guys are getting on there, you're clicking on it, you're at least watching some of these videos and stuff like that.
I'm taking a look. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny actually you mentioned that because I was at a Raider gathering, shall we say, first one I've been to in years, and I ran into Doyle Westland there, and that's a different.
Sorry.
Kid.
He's awesome.
But he's a lot bigger than I thought he was too from the broadcast tower. But he said right away, he was like, "Oh man, I didn't know that you were you used to play for the Raiders. I've seen your videos and this guy with the funky hairdo, and he says, he wants me to give him a nickname, the Sack Ninja or something like that. But
Okay.
yeah. But the bottom line is that, the guys are paying attention. They're looking at the stuff. They're following the social media. That's part of the whole equation.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And you know what? And they love it, right? They're engaged, and they want to be seen, and they want to get their names out there. And I can really appreciate that. I didn't have that when I played junior football. You didn't have it when you played junior football. So for these guys, it's a big part of that. Yeah, thank God for that. But for these guys, it's a big part of what's going on in their lives right now, and it's kind of a way to get their names out there and get a little bit of recognition. So, as long as I'm all for it. I'm all for them promoting themselves and developing a brand, I guess you could so to speak. But I'll be sure to pull out Sack Ninja tonight for Doyle.
Yeah, or Sack Sensei or something like that.
Sack Sensei. Yeah, even better than a ninja. He's a sensei to all the ninjas.
It had a ring to it, anyways. Coach, Okanagan, they got the better of you guys. You guys moved the ball really well against them, at least looking at the box score, but you didn't score enough. How do you approach the matchup? Does it need to be a completely different game for you guys to win, or can you win that game if it goes a few different ways?
Well, we got to be able to win if it goes anyway, right? We got to figure out and deal with that type of adversity, Dom. So, we're dealing with those scenarios in practice this week. But I think the benefit for us is that we it's in our home park, and you're right, we didn't execute well up there. And again, like we talked about after that game, we didn't tackle well. We did a lot of things very poorly. We worked on them. I thought we executed better against Kamloops. So we'll work on those things again this week in practice. And, the biggest thing for us is to finish. We need to finish drives. We need to score points. We have an opportunity to score points. We got to put points on the board. This is a very explosive football team that we're playing against. They're very well coached. Ben does a great job with them. They're going to come down here. They're going to understand the importance of this game as much as we're going to understand that we do. So we're ready for it. It's going to be intense. It's going to be physical, but it's the Okanagan Sun. It's Caledonia Park. It's the Raiders, and let's go. Let's fit fat. We can play this one in the parking lot Friday night if we wanted to. I think that's where both teams are at.
Yeah, I agree, and I can't wait. I'll be there up in the broadcast tower on bcfctv.com, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Doug. I appreciate your time as always.
I can't wait, Dom. You're doing a great job, man. I love it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later.